Okay, we're live.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I am going to call the regular meeting of council for June 30th to order. You have before you a copy of tonight's agenda. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Chambers, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bouchard. All in favor? Motion carries. Thanks, guys. Any declarations of interest? None being noted. We'll move on to item number 4, announcements, awards, ceremonies, presentations. Anything from council? Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think all of council is aware and administration at this point, but the March Against Racism is happening this Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4. The meeting at the rec center around 2 o'clock there, and then doing the march, and then there'll be some speeches afterwards in the parking lot. So that is happening this coming Saturday. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything further? Deputy Mayor Bouchard, go ahead.
Yeah, Your Worship, I know some of the town staff have arranged a candidate parade, a little modified version of a cruise, and I know some of us with classic cars and bikes and stuff are going to do another cruise. I think the parade is going to be similar to what we did about a month ago there. So yeah, I will be there. So I think council in the town of Hayward have some stuff. Maybe the director of recreation might have some more stuff to add later on.
Perfect. Yeah, I believe that there are vehicles available for council if they're interested, but I will let Stefan speak to that later. Anything further from Councillor Chambers? Go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't even on mute. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick announcement from the library. I attended their AGM last night, and I will update council with the financial statements and reports, but I just wanted to thank them and recognize their dedication to continuing to provide library services to the community with all the restrictions that were put in place over the last couple of months. They've been quite creative with their programming, and I know that there are a lot of community members who are appreciative of that. As well, Anne Bowden, who was the chairperson, has stepped down. I just wanted to recognize her service for the library committee. I believe she was on it for at least 5 years, but I just wanted to thank her and wish her all the best as well.
Great, thank you. Yes. And wish her well in her next endeavors. I believe that they are moving. Thank you. Anything further from council? Deputy Mayor Bouchard, go ahead.
I know there's some questions about what else was going on, and I see the Friendship Center is doing a breakfast and a supper type thing. So I think 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. I think I just read. So, so if somebody's looking for things to do at Canada Day tomorrow, I guess.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Nothing noted. We'll move on to item number 5. You have before you a copy of the regular minutes of council dated June 9th, 2020. Looking for a motion? Deputy Mayor Bouchard, seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
I'll move the regular minutes of council for June 9th, 2020 as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any question from council? None noted. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5, no business arising from the minutes. So item number 7, administrative inquiries, and I'll pass it over to SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll start with the Director of Finance.
Good evening, and thank you, Your Worship. The 2020 mill rate calculation has been drafted, and we're anticipating that'll be brought before council next week. We're also continuing work on the final changes to the audited financial statements. Lastly, I'm going to walk through the town's plan for reopening the administrative office. So as many of you are aware, on March 18th, 2020, the town of Hay River's administrative office was closed due to concerns over COVID-19. As part of the Emerging Wisely plan issued by GNWT, the town is preparing to reopen the facility to the public with new restrictions and limitations on hours in place. So the estimated date, and we're going to go ahead with this, I guess it's no longer estimated, is July 6th, 2020. So next Monday we'll be reopening to the public. So anyone who has traveled outside of the Northwest Territories within 14 days or is feeling unwell will not be permitted to enter the building. Hours where the public can access the facility to transact business will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. This will allow enough time to clean the facility and ensure the safety of the public and staff. Customers must maintain social distancing of a minimum of 6 feet from one another between other customers and staff. The town will be open for customers to make payments on accounts without appointment. Due to limited reception area to ensure social distancing access, the building will be limited to 3 members of the public at any time. Members of the public will not be permitted beyond the reception desk without special permission. Customers are encouraged to continue to use online resources to facilitate business with the town. Appointments must be made via either phone at 867-874-6522 or email at reception@hayriver.com. For any other meetings with town office employees, except in the case of an emergency. And further to that, council meetings will continue to be viewable via live stream on YouTube. And the council chambers will, for the time being, remain closed to the public for in-person viewing due to space limitations. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Director of Protective, okay, are we going to go with questions?
Yeah, okay. Sure, we'll go with questions. Go ahead. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Bouchard, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so our meeting's getting back into a public, we're waiting till the phase 3 when maybe we'd be able to, or get the public into there. I'm not sure. Do we have an idea when we would get back to a live meetings, I guess?
Glenn and I and Judy have discussed this. We want to make sure that it's safe to do so. The way it sits right now, it's a little tight in there. We're going to have probably some of our administrative staff on Zoom. So again, it's something that I think council should probably discuss whether we want to continue this way or if we go back into chambers with some of our staff on Zoom. Again, we wouldn't be able to have the public there because there's not the space if we are practicing the social distancing. So it will be something that that we will discuss moving forward. We were hoping to be back in there when the town hall was open, that we could go back, but it is a little tight. So yeah, we did send out an email requesting input, and I've heard back from a couple of you. So if the rest of you wouldn't mind answering that email, that would give us an indication of how you feel about it. I do feel that it is working rather well this way. But again, I'd like to hear input from the rest of you on that. Any further questions from council? Okay, I'll turn it back over to SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Director of Protective Services is on leave this evening, so we will go to the Director of Recreation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, everyone. I do have a few updates, given we haven't had a meeting in a bit. First, I'd just like to confirm there's no changes to our facilities operations currently, though there are changes to programming. So the community center does remain closed to the public, other than our concession operator Sub on the Hub is open, and they are operating through the community hall. As of right now, there's still no dine-in. It's all takeout. But I did speak with the operators today, and they're asking if we could reach out to the environmental health officer and see if there'd be a possibility of having a couple tables there for people to have coffee. So I will reach out to the AHO to see what the possibilities are there. Again, community center remains closed for the foreseeable future, and all other facilities operations are mostly unchanged. Regarding programming, we did start up our beach attendant partnership with ITI today. So we have some of our aquatic staff at the beach, and they are operating from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. as per ITI's request. We did reach an agreement with ITI, and all parties were agreeable to it, and we had the Life Saving Society of Alberta consulting on that agreement and preparing some documentation so that we would have a beach attendant manual, ensure that we're aligning with best practices and legislation. We have enough staffing for coverage as per ITI's requirements. Again, 7 days per week, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. But we are recruiting to have additional coverage in the evening, which will be part of that agreement with ITI. And we're seeing that also as an opportunity to recruit for the fall, because we're currently relying on summer students and some of our local high school students, but we need some recruitment for the fall. So we'll have job advertisements going out next week for our aquatic supervisor position, senior lifeguard position, and for lifeguard positions. Summer heat outdoor camp will begin next week on Monday. Registrations were lower than expected. We will only have 2 parks in operation. Staff has been hired and they've been in training since the end of last week. Some of that training is continuing this week, and they're preparing the locations also. So only 2 summer students were hired, which were funded through the federal and I believe the GNWT funding we received. Part of the training they're doing this week will be first aid training, and we got Mackenzie Rec Association support for that first aid training. So that was a nice little bonus for outside funding. We've also received approval on 2 other grant applications that we submitted in the spring. And those are MACA grants that we generally receive every year, but it was good to get confirmation. We received approval for $16,000 in the Children and Youth Resiliency Program. That's a similar amount to previous years, and that helps to fund youth and family activities generally at the community center. But that will also help fund the summer heat this year, and also after school programming and whatever youth programming we have going into the fall and winter. We also received approval for $5,000 in youth contribution programming, and that has similar aim as the Children and Youth Resiliency Program. We're still waiting to hear back from MACA on a sport and rec contribution funding, which is for $29,000. I've been in communication with MACA representatives, and it seems favorable, and that would be $29,000 for the purchase of equipment that was identified in our 2020 capital budget. Canada Day celebrations were already mentioned, but I'd just like to give a few more details. We are going with a flag raising, national anthem, participation from the RCMP, and a brief speech by the mayor. That will all take place at the fire hall. I believe it's set for 11:30 tomorrow. And then we will have a modified car parade, again, similar to the Show and Shine parade and the birthday parades that have been happening since we've gone into COVID restrictions. The parade will begin from Bob McMeekin Park and go through residential areas, make its way across the highway into the 553 area, and then finish off on the service route by Keys Water Service. Again, there are COVID restrictions in place. There won't be any, people will have to remain in their vehicles or on their floats, and there won't be any candy or anything thrown this year, unfortunately. But people can watch from their driveways, front yards, picture window, whatever is appropriate for people to watch the parade. So it should be a good celebration. And our rec programmer has put a lot of work into getting that ready, and we appreciate the support we're getting from the RCMP to make that happen also. I think the mayor did mention that if there's any council members that would like to participate in the parade, we do have 2 town vehicles available, and we would have those towards the front of the parade, and would be appreciated if we could have town representation and have the town logo leading up the parade there. Our rec programmer has also been working on July and August outdoor fitness programming. There's a bit of a plan there, but we did expect our rec programmer to be involved with summer heat. And given that she's not involved after all, then we are planning to have some outdoor fitness and leisure activities in July and August. That plan should be discussed further next week, and there should be communications going out pretty shortly. Maintenance staff have been trying to catch up on mowing. We did fall behind a little bit given the rain, and then we had some equipment go down. Still having a bit of problems with mowing equipment. That being said, the Newtown area, it does look pretty good. They do have some catching up to do in Old Town. They are also continuing with watering of the downtown core and the flowers at the Welcome to Hay River sign, and playground cleaning and disinfection is continuing 2 to 3 times per week. We also have a crew helping out at the Wharf Pavilion, helping with finishing details to the structure and staining. That crew has been working there for a few days, but we expect to be done fairly shortly here, and I think that aligns with the ASAO's plans for mid-July startup for the wharf season. Staff are also have also been busy helping with preparation for the beach attendance, summer heat, Canada Day Parade, March Against Racism. There's a lot of unexpected events and whatnot, and our staff are always busy with those. And it's nice to be helping out with community events once again, and seeing the community get back active. It's good to see that. There is some upkeep at Port Landing that's necessary, and we recently had some communication from some of the people that have seasonal passes at Port Landing. Seems like there was one evening where boats were vandalized and or broken into, and there may have been some thefts. We are investigating on that, and we're looking into long-term solutions for video surveillance out there. I'll be discussing with Ross, who I think is looking into solutions for updating breakup cameras. There's a few solutions we're looking into, but I think we'll have a short-term solution by the end of the week out there, and we'll also put signage up saying that there is video surveillance on site. Lastly, regarding maintenance, we've been working through warranty items, and one of the big items that I wanted to signal is that the flooring in the Sub on the Hub lobby was this week. It looks very good. The Town of Hay River logo at the entrance to that lobby has been replaced and sealed, and it looks very good. We're very happy with that work. And some thanks to the Director of Public Works for his support and his communications with Clark Builders on that work. I have had meetings and correspondence with the Beautification Committee. They seem satisfied with the support, limited support that we're able to offer this year, and they've found help from volunteers to continue with most of the watering and flower flowers that they put out around town. I also reached out to the Chamber of Commerce to see if there would be businesses that would be interested in taking on some of the planter boxes that we used to have in the downtown core. The feedback was very good on that. All the planter boxes were spoken for and delivered within 2 days. And I also received feedback from community members that just thought it was a good idea and didn't want planter boxes, but were happy with that initiative. Been in touch with the human resources manager. We've have a verbal commitment from the NWT Métis Nation to support our trails project this year. That would be a similar commitment to last year, where they would pay wages for a project manager and a few laborers to continue the trail improvements. We're aiming for, we've prioritized a few different sections of the trails, and we're looking to continue some of the work this year, mostly on the Oxbow Trail, and trying to connect the new town trails to the old town trails. Their commitment this year is for $20 an hour, which is more than last year. And they were able to do that due to some COVID funding that they've received. Lastly, I just want to mention that I'm also still in communication with local sport organizations. ICE user groups have been in communication with their territorial sport organization, and they've confirmed that every ICE TSO has submitted a proposal to the Chief Public Health Officer's office requesting a bit of a revision to the Emerging Wisely plan so that they could return in the fall rather than waiting for phase 4. So I'm staying in touch with those ICE user groups because they can affect our operations and our ability to put the ice in. Hoping that we can get some confirmations on that early in the summer so that we have a better idea of how we'd be operating in the fall. And ball user groups are a little slow at wanting to get back on the field. So far, we only have the men's fast pitch teams back playing, but it sounds like mixed slow pitch are looking to get back to play with a smaller league than most years. But we will have the Ball Diamonds ready for them if they do decide to return, and once we can determine what their schedule looks like. I know there's a lot of updates there, but figured I'd give you a good idea of what's going on, and thank you.
Thank you, Director of Recreation. Any questions from council? Oh, looks like you got off easy, Stefan. Big shout out to the Métis Government Council for partnering with us again this year. I know last year was a huge success, that partnership, and the trails looked amazing. So it's good to see that going ahead again. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Councillor Duford had a question there, Your Worship. I don't know, maybe you can't see her on your screen there.
Okay, sorry. Councillor.
Okay, I'll make sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Dowie. I just had a question about the parade tomorrow. I'm going to have a float in with a bunch of my kids. We're going to be playing some music, and we're coming on a really, really big flatbed. So we're all going to be socially distanced and blah, blah, blah. And I just had a question from some of the parents. I know when we read the instructions for the parade, it said that everybody needs to wear a mask, but some of the kids that are coming are quite young, and we are going to be socially distanced in a large trailer. And I'm wondering, is there a possibility that we might not have to wear them because we're going to be staying in our own little compartment, or is that mandatory? Thank you.
I'm not sure who can answer that. Stefan, can you answer that?
I'll have to check with our rec programmer because she's the one who submitted the proposal to the environmental health officer.
Okay.
It seems okay as per my understanding of the Emerging Wisely restrictions, but I'll confirm, Councillor Duford.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefan.
And if I can, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to specify that the agreement is actually with the NWT Métis Nation. And And I know they're also in communication with the local Métis Government Council, but the agreement and the partnership for the trails projects is actually with the NWT Métis Nation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council for their Director of Recreation? All right, pass it back over to SEO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll go on to the Director of Public Works for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not quite as many items for me. We are still in our boil water advisory. I'm sure everyone is aware. Once again, our water does seem to be getting better these days, but we're still under the advisory. We've recently seen some satellite photos that show that the sediment plume is getting smaller in Great Slave Lake. So hopefully that is good news for us, and hopefully we can get out of this advisory. Along those lines, I will just mention again that we do have the water intake line inspection scheduled for this fall. We also have a water treatment plant inspection coming up sometime here in July. MAC is sending down one of their experts in water treatment plants to just take a look at ours and kind of give us a report of what items we need to be upgrading in there, and just the overall state of the water treatment plant. Our public works guys are finishing up the community curbside cleanup this week. I know they were heading out to Paradise Gardens, I think yesterday, and then working their way back in. So they should be getting pretty close to being done with that. The Caribou Crescent project is well underway. They started at the kind of the low end of the south side of the crescent and are working their way up that side, and then the work around the other side. We haven't had any major issues with that project so far. It seems to be going fairly well. I'm also working with the contractor on cleaning up a few of the deficiencies from prior year projects, just some yard work, some concrete work that needs to be done there. Our competition, a couple of competitions in public works for positions closed last Friday. So the general foreman position, as well as a heavy equipment operator position. So working through the hiring or interviewing process for those with our manager of human resources. And our water license renewal, we have a pre-hearing conference next Tuesday for that. So that's just another step in the process of getting through the renewal. Other than that, been dealing with a few concerns from residents and just following up on those right now. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Bouchard.
Yeah, I had a couple questions about road stuff, and I know around that Caribou Crescent, I went and kind of looked around yesterday there, but it seems like maybe our Riverview Drive's not used to that heavy equipment and trucks and stuff going through there. It seems like it's beating up and stuff, and I'm just wondering, is that our crew's responsibility, or would we get the contractor to maybe just maintain Riverview Drive as far as some of the potholes that were being created by the heavy equipment? I'm not sure who does that, but can we look into that?
Go ahead, Director.
Yeah, I will make note of that and have a discussion with our contractor on that. I guess the good news is that Riverview Drive is next up on the list of roads to be done. So any major potholes that are created there will be getting right up when we redo.
Thank you. Further, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, and then just one other one. I see the spot where we dug up at right in front of Aurora Ford. There was, I want to say that area is, I seen Northwest, or I think Northline Utilities was fixing a power pole there, but that hole's getting bigger and bigger. I'm just wondering if we could level that off. It seems like it's a bit of a hazard there.
Director of Public Works, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. I will make note of that as well and get our guys to take a look at it and put some more gravel down and level it out when they have an opportunity to. And we'll look at adding that area to the patching list for later this summer.
Thank you. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question on, I guess, drainage culverts more specifically. I had a resident ask me well, last week. He's got a culvert in his yard that's basically fully collapsed, and wasn't sure whose responsibility that was, and has been told a couple different things by a couple different people over the few years that it's been an issue. And I know that there's a few of them down here in the old town for sure that are getting to the point where it's personal experience. It's difficult to get into these yards with service trucks. So I guess the question on if it's the town's responsibility, if it's the homeowner's responsibility, where that sits. I know that in the past, probably 6 or 7 years ago now, the town changed all the culverts on 105th Street. That was part of a broader project that was on the books for the old town drainage that's since been removed from the books. I think was transferred into O&M, but I'm not sure on all of that, if that's included, if culverts are included in that, or what the issue is there, how we go about that, or what we tell residents.
Director of Public Works.
I'll have to look into it a little further and just see whose responsibility it is. I think it may be somewhat dependent on the individual circumstances, but I will do a little more research on that and get back to you on whose responsibility it is for those.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Grunewagen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just had a question also just regards to road maintenance. I seem to get continuous questions from residents about the chip sealing on Industrial Drive, as well as the access to Cranberry Crescent off the highway. I know that both of those are issues that have been discussed in the past, but I want to know if those in fact are on the list of any sort of priority for being resurfaced. Thank you.
Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure if they are on the list as I don't know if there is a list right now of priority areas for resurfacing, other than the areas that are tied into our water and sewer projects. It is something that we definitely need to make a priority list and move forward. I know there is issues throughout town. Right now, I don't believe either of those are scheduled to be redone, but they are both areas that have been noted on more than one occasion that residents would like to see done. So they are areas that we will look at doing.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Nothing noted. SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move on to the report from the Assistant SAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few items of interest from the tourism and economic development side. Our Haycation promotion is in full swing, and hopefully you're seeing that, but as well as people from across the territory. We have received some positive feedback from it already, and it certainly seems within the community, probably not fully or directly being through the Haycation promotion at this point. But anyways, we are seeing a fair amount of traffic, it appears, coming from communities in the South Slave area and Yellowknife coming to visit the community, which is certainly positive for a visitation-based economy. Our VIC, the Visitor Information Center in itself, has been open now for 10 days. And just people coming into there, we've tracked over 60 visitors from outside of the community, but within the Northwest Territories coming in. Noticed the golf course last weekend. The campground there was fully booked with people from out of town. And yeah, hearing just in general conversation about people coming into Hay River to visit. So that's good. We invite them and look forward to hosting them. Peter McGill himself, our Tourism and Economic Development Coordinator, has some unplanned leave. So he'll be he'll be off for the next few weeks. And we've had to move forward with recruiting a summer student to keep the BIC open for the month of July. So that person is in place now and has been trained by Peter. On the economic development side, or just a couple points I wanted to bring up, just again through conversation with businesses around town, and I'm sure you're having your own. But some of these, I guess, informal discussions, certainly noting that there has been, a lot of businesses are seeing positive impacts right now. We recognize that hotels and the service industry, they're certainly being impacted by COVID. But part of the correlation, I think, seems to be, attributed to the effects of purchasing local and people, not leaving and doing the spend outside of the community that they typically have. Although there are a growing number of online options, but some of the retailers are reporting quite favorable sales scenarios lately, and having difficulties even keeping stock on the shelves in some cases. Our pavilion project, the Director of Recreation mentioned, we're getting support from that department, as well as we have several contractors on site this week, as things are quite busy there right now as we prepare to open up for the market season. And we have been working closely with our operator, our contract operator for that. And we've worked on our COVID opening plan and safe work practices that have been submitted to the local environmental health officer, and approvals come in on that. So we are still targeting, in consideration of these factors, of opening in mid-July. It's looking more like July 18th if everything goes as planned, and probably do a grand opening later in the season where we have a few more things from our project commitments in place. Working on an application to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the FCM, in support of our asset management interests. So that is underway there, and we're applying for $50,000, hopefully, in funding to support those efforts. Did receive notice this week that we received a reimbursement from MACA, or the GNWT, for the Hay River flood evacuation. So the full amount of $40,000 was reimbursed by that government. The deputy mayor and I attended a call as part of the Northwest Territories Association of Communities with the GNWT. Minister Knockleby and Mr. Simpson were both on that call, amongst other GNWT representatives, but a fair amount of conversation on education's plan for opening schools and that blended type of working or learning environment in September. A lot of the challenges for communities were really around access to the internet and ensuring that those types of learning plans and schooling that will be in place can be handled by students that do need to work or do have a portion of schooling from home. And also a lot of conversation, of course, on the border crossings and concerns around that. I also wanted to just give a shout out to the Rotary Association from town. The Rotary Trail is something that they've been sponsoring. We entered into a sponsorship agreement last year with them, and part of that was the inclusion of a regular spring maintenance program that they'd complete. So I did go out with them last week, and just thanks to them for undertaking that work. And the trail itself looked to be in good condition. I also, the Director of Protective Services isn't on this call, as we know, but one bylaw area of concern, I guess, is I did do a tour with Ross last week, and we were keeping an eye or taking some inspections on unkept lawns, which would fall under our unsightly bylaw. And there's, I'd say, a fair amount of concern there, which is the upkeep or the ability to people to keep their lawns to meet those bylaws or that bylaw. So we have sent out some communication to the public, but really looking towards governments and other residents and commercial properties to see how they can find improvements in that area. Outside of that, a few updates from the other directors on the call today. I get an indication that our human resource manager is quite busy. A lot of recruitment activity going on as competitions closed recently and as new ones are opening up. Our team also completed a job evaluation training. I guess it's a couple weeks ago now, and that's something that we're continuing to work through as a commitment to the union and to our employees. And we have set updated dates for collective bargaining to begin in September. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Well, you got off easy, Glenn. Back to SAO Goucher.
Thank you, Your Worship. That concludes the report from administration.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to item number 8.
Your worship.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Dewey.
Thank you. I just had a few questions there I wasn't sure if the SAO was going to give any update on any of her files there, but I guess I have a few questions on maybe not specifically for the SAO, but one, we got an email, I want to say a few weeks ago now, from the Legion. I don't know if administration got it or if just council got it. It was a request from their president. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Your Worship, or have you seen it?
Yeah, I did see it.
Okay. I'm just wondering where we're at with that, if we have responded to them, or if that requires a motion or anything like that, and when we can expect to get back to them on that.
I assumed it was, I'm pretty sure that administration was copied on that. I haven't heard a response yet, but I will commit to getting back to them as soon as we have a response to that one. Did you have anything further?
I can add to that, Your Worship. So our Director of Finance is working on preparing a response, and maybe he can give us an update on where he's at with that.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I reached out to Vince, who had sent the initial email to let him know that it was on our radar and that we're going to get him a response. And I've at this point prepared the response. We just haven't sent it back to them, but we will get that out this week.
Thank you. Anything further?
Thanks. I was just asked about it over the weekend. We know how Vince gets. Yeah, I had a couple other ones. One of them was obviously we can't go too far into it, the Cranberry Crescent issue. I'm just wondering if we can get an update on that. Not obviously it won't be in public, but if we could get an update just emailed to council or whatever.
Okay, not a problem.
And then the last one, obviously there's been a lot of conversation in the media and in the public the last little while about our land lease issues. I'm not even sure if you got a chance to check your email yet, Your Worship, but there was an email from Mr. Griffiths at about 10:06 today that one requested a meeting with council and yourself. Another part of it was to give us full authority to speak to it in public. But I guess the whole issue has kind of become the waters are a little muddier now than they were, in my opinion anyway, a few weeks ago. So I guess my request would be just if council could be given the information that we have on that up to this point. I know it might take a bit to gather all that, but I'd like to just see everything, and then that way we can come to maybe some clarity for myself, and I'm sure there are other councillors that with different things that have been written in the paper and on the internet, and different things we've all heard, maybe out in the public in the last little while. It'd be good to get some clarification on a few things, and I think just getting all that information would be beneficial.
Fair enough. At the risk of repeating myself, I did respond to your email, and we will have an itemized timeline on the events to make sure that we're all on the same page, that everybody is comfortable with where we're at on the issue and going forward. So yeah, we are on it, and I will get that to you guys as soon as possible. Further, Councillor Doi?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I appreciated the response. I guess for me, it's just, I just want to see all the information, everything that we have. I know that we're going to come up with a timeline, but I'm sure there's quite a file there on that. And I think at the end of the day, it would just be beneficial if we could see the information firsthand and be able to, then there's no opportunity for it to be lost in translation between one party or the other, or he said, she said, or this goes back and forth. At least this way we can say that we've seen it all firsthand and it's been, well, one way or the other, but I just think I'd feel more comfortable if I just had the information.
Absolutely, yeah. And we did commit to getting that information to you as soon as we can get it all together and put it in something, Cole's Notes version, I guess, with backup. So yes, I have committed to council, to yourself, as well as all of council to get that to you as soon as we can. And no, I have not seen Mr. Griffith's email, but I will respond as well to that. Anything further from council? Councillor Groenewegen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I was looking for an update at where we're at with the Fraser Place development. It being first week of summer here, we're seeing a lot of requests. While speaking to local realtors, seeing a lot of requests from people that are hoping to be able to purchase here in town, and truthfully, there just isn't a lot available in the market. And I know I've had to comment a few times during showings where people have specifically said is that they wish there was land available to purchase so they could build. And I know that this is obviously something that the town has been trying to address and move forward on. There was at one point in time a discussion in the past that I wasn't directly privy to, but effectively, I believe at one point there was a proposal or a plan to develop unserviced acreages. Now, I remember the response that I had heard at the time was that did not fit the town's bylaw. I guess the type of demand that I'm seeing right now, where is more or less certain people being really almost desperate for an opportunity to purchase something that's suitable for themselves and their family. I'm wondering if that idea is something that could go back to and be reviewed. If it could create an opportunity for more development, just looking at the possible changes that would even need to be made to bylaws. Thank you.
I will pass that over to SAO Goucher.
Sorry, thank you, Your Worship. The Director of Public Works can provide an update on Fraser Place development. I would suggest that when council meets in July to review its strategic plan, that land was one of the prime areas of interest of council when it talked about strategic priorities, and that would be a good opportunity for administration to present the information that was presented to, I know it was shared, but at least we could present it in, I guess, visually as opposed to in document format, in terms of what are the plans that have been approved within the community plan for land use within the community. So We can certainly add that to that meeting, and the Director of Public Works can update council on where we're at with proceeding with the geotechnical work for Fraser Place, as that's the first step before completing a design and going out back to the public for rezoning with that new design proposal.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just received an update last week from our consultant on that project, and they're aiming to get it done towards the end of July, and we will have the geotech report by the end of July. That's the updated timeline on geotech for Fraser Place.
Thank you. Anything further from council?
Your worship, I'm not
Deputy
sure if
Mayor, go ahead.
I'm not sure if anybody else is experiencing the problem, but I have a power failure at home on my cell phone right now. So I'm not sure who else we've lost, but
Well, everybody, I think you're the only one. Deputy Mayor, the rest of us seem to be okay. Is everyone else okay? Yeah,
So far, so good.
so far so
Okay.
good. Okay, so nothing further from council? We'll move on to item 8. You have before you a copy of the Recreation Committee minutes for May 12th, 2020. Any questions regarding, do we need a motion for information items? I don't think we do we? No. But is there any questions to either one of the minutes for the recreation? Okay, none being noted. We'll move on to item 9, bylaws. 9A, bylaw 2420, council procedures bylaw, third and final reading. I'm looking for a motion. So do we go ahead?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move third and final reading of the council procedures bylaw.
Seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 9B is bylaw 2362 SAO appointment. Looking for first reading. Need a motion. Councilor Willows, go ahead.
I'll move first reading of bylaw number 2362 for the municipality corporation of the town of Hay River, being a bylaw of the town of Hay River to appoint a senior administrator officer.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Dowie. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. I need a motion for second reading of bylaw 2362 SAO appointment. Councillor Willows, go ahead.
I'll move second reading of bylaw number 2362, being a bylaw of the town of Hay River to appoint a senior administrative officer.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Dufert. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. We can do third and final if we have, go ahead, Councillor Dowie.
Your Worship, I'll move for unanimous consent for third and final reading.
Looking for unanimous consent. Show of hands. You have unanimous consent. Okay, so looking for, I think we need to amend the motion. Correct, SAO Gouch, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. You can amend the motion to put the commencement date with today's date, June 30th, 2020, under the term employment. So the appointment is for Glenn Smith to be appointed as Senior Administrative Officer of the Town of Hay River, and his employment shall commence June 30th, 2020.
Go ahead, Councillor Dowie.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move bylaw number 2362 as amended.
third and final reading. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Willows. Any questions to the motion?
Your worship, you need a seconder for the actual consent. Only Councillor Joey motioned it. You don't have a seconder.
Okay, Councillor Chambers had her hand up there, so we'll go with her. She's good at that. Okay. So all in favor?
I think we might need a seconder for that one too, or did we get one?
No, I got one. Thank you. And I am. So I'm going to let SAO Smith speak. There
you go. Well, yeah, I guess I just wanted to say a couple words. Certainly, thanks to Mayor and Council for the vote of confidence, as you will, and the opportunity presented. And certainly, SAO responsibility is one that I don't take lightly, and would consider it to be a privilege to be in, and working for the community, my community, one that I've lived in now for 40 years. I was noting this year, it's the 40th year since my family moved up, and community that I certainly love and look forward to doing my best to make it a favorable place to live, do business in, and visit. And it's, you know, we have a very strong, dedicated senior management team in place, and there's a lot of comfort moving into the position, knowing how talented that team is, and really how great of group our staff is that we have in general at the town. And it's been a positive organization so far to work with, and I think we're all in alignment towards creating success. And certainly, I know we'll have another opportunity to formally recognize Judy's contribution, and it's unfortunate, I think, for us in the community that we are losing her, as her leadership's been really transformational for town administration, at least. And the reality is we can't replace her, but we will work together as a cohesive administration, council, and community, and we'll continue down that path of betterment that she's kickstarted us off on. So thank you.
Thank you, and I think I can speak for all of council. We look forward to working with you in the future, and yeah, absolutely. We're going to miss Judy big time. She has done amazing things for this community, and her leadership was very strong. And I personally am sorry to see her go, and I'm sure the rest of you feel the same. So I'll take the opportunity to thank her, but we'll have more to come, I'm sure, before she's done. So yeah, I look forward to working with you, Glenn, in the future. And we're off. Okay, so next one is notice of motions, and there being none, we're on to item number 11. So I need a motion to go in camera, which should be a fairly quick one. Councillor Chambers, seconded by Councillor Dufert. All in favor? So we'll take a quick 2-minute break here. And what time is it? Hang on. 7:32, so back at 7:35, guys.
I'll try to find some power.